Good evening and welcome, dear friends. On behalf of the Vivekananda Vedanta Society of Chicago, we are really very honored to welcome Tessen Stuart Ericksen to the Home of Harmony as our guest speaker today. Tessen Ericksen is a Zen teacher at the Zen Buddhist Temple of Chicago, located in Evanston, northwest of Chicago. Tessen grew up in Chicago as the son of a Lutheran minister and started reading about Japan, its culture and religions, including Buddhism, during his college years. He received instructions in Zen meditation from a Buddhist priest who lectured on both Eastern and Western philosophy. Subsequently, Tessen joined the Zen Buddhist Temple of Chicago and started his formal training as a disciple of Reverend Kongo Langlois in 1990. After Kongo Roshi's passing in 1999, Tessen has continued to provide support and ongoing Zen instruction to the temple community in the Chicago area. He is currently the disciple of Reverend Tawin Elliston. Today, he will share his insights on a topic titled, "The World Needs Our Practice More Than Ever." So there will be time for question and answer, so please have your questions ready after the presentation. And then on that note, please join me in welcoming our most honored speaker today, Tessen Stuart Ericksen.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for having this place and supporting it so that people can come truly together from multiple paths and we share with each other. And I hope that this is an auspicious thing for the future. Because, as I mentioned in the title, if ever the world has needed our spiritual practice to bring us together, it is at this time. So first off, I would like to thank, first of all, Swami Ishatmananda for making all of this possible, his leadership, his teaching. I had the pleasure of listening to a speech that he gave here. I think it was maybe over the summer, regarding the relationship between Buddhism and Hinduism and his loving knowledge of the Buddhist tradition and how it relates to Hinduism was truly marvelous. And I would like to mention also Chris Bass, who I can just move that way. Okay. Thank you, Chris. And thank you, Chris, for, in another dimension, which is that probably back in the springtime, we have new people are coming all the time to our little temple. It's on Dempster Street in Evanston. So we get newcomers all the time, and this is wonderful. And there was someone who was unfamiliar, started talking with him, it was Chris, and he talked about, what his experience was, and that he was a member of this temple. And this is related to Vivekananda, the root teacher, I think would be appropriate. And the Vedanta Society. And it just so happens that my first teacher, Kongo Roshi, who was mentioned in the introduction, started his spiritual path with a member of the Vedanta Society And this would have been back in probably the 1950, 55, 60 time frame. And we go to Hyde Park and had a teacher in yoga. And how do I put this? It was in talking with Chris, it's almost like meeting a long-lost relative. So this feels, in a sense, like extended family, like we are like first cousins who've never met each other before. But, you know, this is interesting. We could say, oh, this is just some coincidence, right? Everything happens by coincidence. Or could we say by karma? Well, I think our paths were meant to cross. And again, thank you for the invitation. So you heard a little something about me, and I think that was enough. I'd like to emphasize, I am not a scholar. I am here not to discuss philosophy and different, you know, formal aspects of Buddhism. And furthermore, not to speak about Buddhism in general, because as with Hinduism, there are so many different traditions, there's so many different schools, right? The same thing is true in Buddhism. But my karma led me to Zen Buddhism, and so I'd like to talk to you a little something about that. But just going on about my teacher, and I have a second teacher. The first teacher, Kongo Roshi, passed away. But after his involvement with the Vedanta Society and their teaching, and I'm not sure the circumstances, he continued with a second teacher, another yogi from India by the name of Sri Nirod, who was a Kundalini teacher. And I have with me a little book by a teacher by the name of Swami Mukherjee that he would give to every one of his disciples. When they became his student, he said, I want you to read this. It is the doctrine and practice of yoga. And I have a copy of that to share with you. So the word Zen, what does this mean? You know, in popular society, it's a little crazy. There seems to be a certain cachet, a certain atmosphere around this word Zen. It sort of conjures up something, I don't know, mysterious, cool, whatever. I think maybe they take it too far. It's like, as I was driving here, we stopped at a light and I looked over and there was the Zen nail spa. And, you know, there was a book a long time ago, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and so forth. But there's quite a bit more to it than just sort of pop culture. So Zen, excuse me, is Zen, everything to do with Buddhism, as Swami Ishatananda mentioned in his beautiful lecture, is Buddhism is really the offspring of Hinduism. And so the Buddha grew up in a Hindu family. I think in what now is northeast India towards Nepal area. And so our roots are there, and Buddhism, as it developed, traveled to the north, into Tibet, west into Afghanistan, Hard to imagine. Afghanistan used to be part of the heartland of Buddhist practice at one time. And of course, to the southeast, into Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, etc., and north into China, Korea, and Japan. It was from Japan that Zen was brought to the United States. Our founding teacher, a man by the name of Matsuoka Roshi, came to the United States specifically to help teach Americans about Zen, for them to learn about meditation, for them to be able to develop this spirituality. Most other priests were focused on supporting Japanese communities along the West Coast, you know, kind of like the taking care of local congregation, not so much the Americans. So we use the term used in Japan, Zen, but Zen is the attempt of the Japanese to pronounce the Chinese word, which is Chan or Can. But that was only their attempt to try to pronounce the Sanskrit original word, which is dhyana, meditation. So we are, excuse me, what you could call the meditation sect of Buddhism. So I won't go too much into the history of the Buddha's upbringing and his life. I think that's been documented very well. But I think the most important thing is having grown up as a very privileged individual. You know, in the upper elite, his father was the king of that country where he resided. When he finally saw what was the suffering of people around him, he resolved to try to find a way, how do we resolve, how do we address, how do we relieve the suffering that is so endemic to human existence. When we see suffering, sometimes we think, oh, great tragedies. There are all kinds of little things that happen during the day, disappointments that, you know, really sort of chip away at us, as well as things of great import, sickness, old age, and death. And he followed a number of different yoga teachers for some period of time trying to resolve this question, and didn't find he was making any progress, so he sat under a tree and he said, enough of this, I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna sit and I'll die sitting here, but I want to make some penetration to this deep question. And he meditated, and just occasionally to take care of his needs and have some very simple nourishment, sleep, he stayed in meditation. And finally had a great awakening, very great awakening, transformative, penetrating into and understanding the interrelationship of everything in the universe, including ourselves, other people, the entirety. And rather than just saying, well, I kind of have achieved this, I can just sit back and just sort of enjoy, you know, a carefree life. But he said, no, but I promised. He had to take this teaching to as many people as possible. And he lived for an additional 40, 45 years teaching along the way, trying to explain different dimensions of the insights that he had through his practice and his experience. And as a result of that, there were many, many different sermons were given. There were many, he met with many, many different groups. And it's very interesting because he was extremely adept at tuning his message to the people that he was talking to. If he was talking to people who were highly educated, one kind of approach. People who had perhaps had no education, were farmers or merchants. He was always trying to help people on their terms and wherever possible in their own language, which he emphasized to his disciples. If you can, you speak to people in their own language. Don't use Sanskrit. Don't use, high-fashioned language. He said, help people on their own level. But as a result, you have many different traditions that grew up, and this is like a great tree that has many branches. This is Buddhism. But as my teacher kept emphasizing, the tree depends on its roots. Without the roots, there isn't the nutrition to draw up to feed the tree. And as he considers it, and I think this is true, is that Zen Buddhism is the roots of Buddhism. Why do I say this? Because before one word was said, before one sermon was given, before anything was written down, one man sat down and made a decision, I'm going to sit here. And he did. And the result is incredible, because we are still feeling the wonderful effects of that one person's decision to do something motivated to help others. So, I think I need some water here. Give me a second. So something that, one of the very first things that he mentioned after his Great Awakening was, originally, from the beginning, all beings are Buddha. So this, I think, is, we're almost expecting to hear something more like, well, if we live a very good life, perhaps sometime far in the future, we will be able to gain enough merit to become a Buddha. Or if we do the right things, we do the right words, the right everything, then we can sort of obtain this thing, always seeing it as something that is external to us, when in fact, this is our truest, most original nature that we simply need to awaken to. And he went on to, we don't experience life this way, right? We don't see everybody as Buddha, fully enlightened and, so kind and so forth. And why is this? Because the mind is clouded by our self-involved, self-centric preoccupations. It's our ego that drives so much of what we say and do and drives our whole life. And he said, this is truly really getting to the basis of the cause of suffering, which is anger, greed, and illusion. I see something, oh, I want that. It's like, I'm going to get it. Or they don't want to give it to me, so I'll take it. oh, maybe that country over there has riches that our country wants. We'll go in and kill them all. But this is greed on small, on large scale. But it is the tendency of it amplifies across humanity. Anger, we hold on to anger. Maybe if we worked as hard to hold on to happiness and hold on that which is joyful and share that joy, perhaps this would be a benefit. And the illusion that somehow we were all separate individuals and what happens to me has nothing to do with you. I do not have to take anything into consideration because really what matters in my world is me. And he said, this clouds the thinking and obscures the true nature that we have. So what do we suggest? We have so many beautiful books, so much philosophy, which my teacher would say. He said, to the extent that you read something and it leads you to action and leads you to sit down and, in our case, work on your spiritual practice, which for us is meditation, and dig in. And as we sit and these various things come up to us, we let them go. We practice letting go, creating the conditions for where we can actually see and experience the truth of what the historical Buddha was trying to teach. We got it? Okay. So, okay, if it's all about letting go, then what do we have to gain? Well, really, there's nothing to gain. There's nothing to acquire. In meditation, we drop our habitual way of thinking and our preoccupations. The tapes that we're always playing to each other. And we create the conditions where we can see our original nature. And there are beautiful things that we can read. The Buddha himself, when asked about, well, what's the meaning of life? What happens after death? He he did not answer such questions. He said, pour your attention into your practice. He said, this is like, he made the analogy, a parable, powerful parable. And he said, often we're like a man who has been struck by an arrow that was dipped in poison. And his friends, family are rushing to help him, bring the doctors. And the man says, no, wait. I have to know the name of the man who shot this arrow. Was he tall? Was he short? What was his parents' name? What kind of wood was the arrow made of? And of course, what do you think the result of that is? If all that had to be answered before he could be helped. The Buddha never referred to himself as a holy being or, some great high being, but a physician. The physician who is trying to help cure the suffering in our lives. So we feel very deeply that meditation is the core to our practice. I would say whatever the core is to your practice, dive into it. It's something my teacher would say, when you're sitting in meditation, sometimes you get these ideas, I understand things now, I have some relation. he used the word, and Swami, please correct me, neti, neti, not this, not this. So if something pops up and we think, aha, I just made it, I just won the lottery. So they say, neti. Keep letting it go. Things show up, keep letting it go. Neti, neti, neti. So when we talk about meditation, people often think of this as a passive activity. It is only outwardly quiet. Inside, there is great engagement. Our founder called this mokurai, which translates as silent thunder. So with that, I would like to suggest that we're full of words. I think enough words. I think it's time for some silent thunder and actually take the opportunity to sit for a few minutes. And joining us is Kozan Jim Madsen, retired teacher at our temple. And Jim, if you could join us. You want? Okay, that's fine. Okay. So we're going to just have some meditation, just sitting here in the pews. And what I'd like to suggest is that you sit so that you're comfortable, but at the same time, try to keep the back straight so you're not slouching much. So what happens when the body is straight, the organs naturally align. When you breathe, the lungs can fill with energy, prana, right? Eyes are downcast, just looking forward, eyes half closed. And relax the body. And breathe from the lower abdomen. So you're taking a breath, the abdomen expands, and then you exhale just by allowing the abdomen to release. The breath originates in that area. You can just have your hands resting in your lap. And some breaths will be short, some will be long. This is okay. This is not a breathing exercise. So, and the disposition of the mind should be clear and alert, but not preoccupied with all of the thoughts and different things that come to us. Usually things come up and we start chasing them. And we tell ourselves little stories about the past and the future and so forth. When these things come up, just let them pass away. So please, just place your hands together, palm to palm. We call this gasho, but namaste is the same thing. So in the home of harmony, we practice loving kindness with our meditation, moving away from our self-wants, our self-needs, learning to let go and turn down the volume of our egos in silent illumination. And the natural outcome of this practice, and I think all true spiritual practices, is a deep arising of compassion for all beings. And not something where we tell ourselves, oh, I should do this, this is a commandment, this is somebody's telling me, but it is the intuitive, most reflexive, most pure manifestation of who we truly are. And that is to share compassion with all beings in loving kindness. And on that note, we are going to now pass out some. Do you have this? Yes. We're going to recite something called the Metta Sutta, or Sutra. Metta, loving kindness. I think that's a fitting way to end our time together here. This is Kozan James Matson, with a far more beautiful voice than mine, to lead this beautiful chant.
So after I introduce the chant, if you could just all join in, beginning with the words on the page that says, "This is what should be accomplished."
Loving kindness in action.
From the roadie. Metta Sutta. This is what should be accomplished by those who are wise, who seek the good and have obtained peace. Let one be energetic, upright, and sincere, without pride, easily contented and joyous. Let not one be submerged by the things of the world. Let one not take upon oneself the burden of riches. Let one's senses be controlled. Let one be wise, but not be puffed up. And let one not
desire great possessions, even for one's family. Let one do nothing that is mean or that the wise would reprove. May all beings be happy. May they be joyous and live in safety. All beings, whether weak or strong, in high or middle or low realms of existence, small or great, visible or invisible, near or far, born or yet to be born, may all beings be happy. Let no one deceive another, nor despise any being in any state. Let none by anger or hatred wish harm to another. Even as a mother, at the risk of her life, watches over and protects her only child, so with boundless mind should one cherish all living things, suffusing love over the entire world, above and below and all around without any limit. In such a way, let one cultivate an infinite goodwill towards the entire world. Standing or walking, sitting or lying down, during all one's waking hours, let one cherish the thought that this way of living is the best in the world, abandoning muddled discussions, having a clear vision, free from one's craving for self-satisfaction. Such a person will never again know rebirth in the cycle of creation of suffering for ourselves and the benefit of all living beings.
So thank you very much. I think our time has basically come to a close. Just one closing note that is so inspiring is my teacher had told me many years ago, he said, if you go to India, he said, Vivekananda came from India, but if you go to the tip of the subcontinent, there is a mighty statue of his teacher, Ramakrishna. So questions or comments? If you don't have any questions, answers will do. So, and if not, that is perfectly fine. And I would strongly urge everyone to listen to the recording of Swami Ishatananda's wonderful talk that he gave, and you'll hear more detail about the relationship, the important relationship between these two great traditions, and how marvelous it is to come together at your invitation to share and to explore and strengthen our ties together, and may we go forward and share this with all beings. Oh, this is a complicated question. And you came in just a little after I had made a comment that I am not a scholar. And the fact is that there were many missionaries who came from India to China. And the western city of Xi'an in, I think that might be Sichuan province, close to the western boundary of China at the time. Many scholars came and translated the Buddhist scriptures from Sanskrit, from Pali, from all of it. And by the way, it wasn't just Pali. There was a lot of different Indian languages that needed to be translated, so it was a great center. But there is one of the we call patriarchs of Buddhism by the name of Bodhidharma, who came from India to China, thank you, and really established this particular form of Buddhism that we were sharing today, of the dhyana school, dhyana yama, which then has become known as Zen. And he sat, at first, when he came, he had no students. So he sat facing a wall for 6 years. And finally, people became a little curious about, this is unusual, and slowly came and started to receive teaching from him. And I think that is, fact check me, please. Thank you so much.
Mr. Stuart Eric, I'm really very impressed how devotedly you were mentioning this particular school of Buddhism reminds us of a school of Hinduism that is yogi. The yogi schools, they also insist that one should meditate, only meditate. There are many ways to realize God. We have given a book presented to you of the many ways to realize God. And that God is nothing but Buddha. It is known as Buddha. Swami Vivekananda, he said, we have every right in Buddhahood. Buddhahood is that knowledge. And knowledge that I am pure. The moment we get that purity, there is no desire what to ask. And there, the moment I don't have any desire in my mind becomes calm and it is so peaceful. Sometimes some people, they will go and serve. Sometimes people, they will read, study, and they will argue, and they will debate. Sometimes out of devotion, they will go to the different religious places and offer food, offer incense sticks, light the lamps, like that they will do devotion. And some people, quietly they will sit and withdraw all the senses and meditate. And this Jain Buddhism, they're insisting on this meditation part. Very difficult. If you ask a man to run 26 miles, you will find 10,000 people running in the Chicago Great Marathon. Ask them to sit for 26 minutes quietly, difficult. You won't find, forget about 10,000, even 10 people. Very difficult to sit quietly.
The secret is to take one breath at a time.
Now, that is the system they developed, one breath at a time. So these are different ways of realizing. But what is that ultimately? Happiness. Ultimately, it is the ultimate happiness. I'm very happy that you came, and your friend also, when you were chanting, as if English you were reading, but it seems as if the Sanskrit or the Pali that you were pronouncing, and the way you were meditating is very new to us. We usually squat like this.
When I was younger.
Okay. So this is a wonderful way. Thank you for coming. Come again. This is a home of harmony. A different paths that going to, all can come over here. We can exchange our views, know each other, and can develop love for each other. Thank you. Thank you very much. Om, peace, peace, peace unto all.